In the depths of the abyss, amidst the shadows of uncertainty, we find our purpose. We are the seekers of truth, the heralds of enlightenment, shrouded beneath the veil of chaos. Through the mist that engulfs our homeworld, we perceive the divine, and through chaos, we forge our destiny. Let our enemies fear the darkness of our resolve, for in the veils of chaos, we are illuminated, and in our unity, we are invincible.
In this series, I kind of want to talk about Chaos Warband homebrews. I'm going to look at a couple of criteria to see how much I like them or not, and how well they hold up in general in the sense of the lore and the aesthetics of Warhammer, and just kind of how well written they are. Granted, a lot of this is my opinion, but let's start with the aesthetics. Now, aesthetics-wise, the Abyssal Conclave is pretty reserved and true to its parent legion. I'd enjoy its design by proxy of the fact that I enjoy the Wordbearer's design a lot. There isn't very much originality. The only thing about them is the chainveil they adorn themselves. Additionally, they sport armor that is slightly darker red and a darker gunmetal trim than that of their original legion, and they use a modified version of the Latros Sacrum, which does have a lot of visual interest to me. I do like this symbol with the chainveil over the right side of the head and skull with the sun behind it. Now, unfortunately, the image can't be recreated in Space Marine 2 at all, but you can have the base colors. Now, if they ever add word bearers to the PvP, please Saber add word bearers, that would be so cool. You would solve two problems. I feel like the word bearers writing could also be applied to the exorcists. So that would be really cool. Quickly setting up the Abyssal Conclave, they are a Chaos Warband from the lineage of Lorgar. They are a splinter group of the Wordbearers who were disillusioned with the infighting that happens in the Legion and distance themselves from it to focus on the depths of their devotions and spreading the word of Lorgar. So they got like real monk, very more religious fanaticism than even normal Wordbearers. They hold some respect for the Dark Council and Sicarius, but mainly their loyalty is primarily to their shrouded prophet, and I'll get into him more later. I want to touch upon some of the history that the Abyssal Conclave has written. Now, in the past, they were known as the 24th host of the Wordbearers of Lorgar's Legion. I feel like their history is well written and it's pretty tame. I enjoy that it's grounded in the world and in major events, and that they aren't like super secret awesome dudes. Now, the 24th host took place in the Shadow Crusades, and again, that's very reasonable. Both the entirety of the Wordbearers Legion and the World Eaters Legions were there at the slaughter of Ultramar, so it works incredibly well. The second thing I like is they were absent from the pivotal Battle of Terra, okay? They weren't on Earth. They were on their way, and Lorgar told them to get out of Dodge, told them to get up and go, and just go to the, Eye of Terror as soon as possible. The writer is referring to this event as the Great Scouring. This gives us our first real sworn enemy of the Warband, which is going to be the Ultramarines. It makes sense. The Ultramarines wanted to get them back. The 24th host and Lorgar and all the Wordbearers destroyed most of Ultramar. So of course, they were going to hunt them viciously all the way to the Eye of Terror until they could not follow them anymore. That wiped out about not only half of Lorgar's Wordbearers, but half of this specific faction, which is a pretty good setup. Moving on to early M31, which is now the Legion Wars, the Abyssal Conclave, which was known as the 24th host, settled into the Eye of Terror after the forces of Chaos were defeated at Terra. So there's a lot of infighting at this time, and Chaos doing its usual thing. They're, messing up other legions, they're splintering war bands, they're stabbing each other in the back, and people are fighting a lot. Now, the Wordbearers at this time basically had large skirmishes and fights with the Night Lords and the Iron Warriors. Specifically, the 24th host personally wanted to take battles against the Night Lords and the Iron Warriors because they saw them as blasphemers. They were the farthest away from the zealotry of the Wordbearers, so they didn't like that. And the Night Lords were kind of unaffiliated with Chaos. They're there, but they're not really attributed to real worship. They didn't like the Iron Warriors, because basically the Iron Warriors would remove their mutations, and again, we'll talk about this later, they considered those blessings. They basically were trying to remain pure and bend Chaos to their will, but not worship Chaos. And any word bearer is going to be like, that's messed up. But the 24th host specifically didn't like that a lot. Continuing the theme of them being at the right place at the right time, the 24th host was involved in another word bearer's pivotal moment. but doesn't really disrupt it too much. I really like this. So far, they fit very well into the timeline neatly, which I really like that. In M34, they took part in the naval battles in the event of the Triumph of the Word. Now, the Triumph of the Word was a major schism, or attempted schism, where Grand Apostle Marikar tried to take over 7,000 Astartes of the Word-bearers and go join the Black Legion, because, apparently they were cooler. This led to a lot of infighting, obviously, and also led to a power vacuum in the Word-bearers Legion between Cor Pharon and Erebus, each trying to appoint their own candidates into Marikar's now empty seat of the Dark Council. So the slaughter of fellow brothers and the internal power struggles that started to happen left the 24 hosts disillusioned with their part of the Legion, and wanted to branch out, focus more on their religion, like I said earlier. This didn't happen overnight, though. The Triumph of the Word happened in M34, and it was basically until M36, 2 millennia later, that it finally got to them, and they decided to leave and distance themselves from the internal affairs of the Word-bearers. Now, at this point, they went further into the Eye of Terror to look for a new, suitable home planet, where they found the planet of Abyssum. This mass exodus was referred to as the Veil-born Ascendancy. This started them finally becoming the Abyssal Conclave instead of just being known as the 24th host. Finding and mastering Abyssum wasn't easy either. It took them over 2 more millennia to inhabit the planet and set up a fortress monastery on the demon world. Now, Abyssum is really cool. It is a world enveloped in perpetual darkness, shrouded in an ethereal and eternal mist covering its surface. Now, the Abyssal Conclave believe that within this mist lies the key to ultimate enlightenment, and they've dedicated themselves to unraveling its mysteries. The mist enveloping Abyssum has been named the Veil of Enlightenment. Pretty obvious. This ethereal mist distorts reality and perception, makes it difficult for outsiders to navigate the demon world's treacherous terrain, and those who attempt to traverse Abyssum must contend with its shifting landscapes, illusions, and mirages that challenge their sanity. I like that a lot. It's very Chaos Wastes. The Abyssal Conclave, through their unwavering faith in chaos, learn to navigate the Veil of Enlightenment with relative ease. They see this not as an obstacle, but a test of their devotion and intellect. Within this twisted realm, they conduct their rituals and engage in philosophical discourse even, which is odd for Chaos Space Marines, but they seek communion with the dark powers that dwell within the shadows and beyond. Philosophical discourse is funny to me because this being a Word-bearers warband, and just being Chaos Space Marines in general, you'd think they'd be kind of nuts. Now I'm just imagining a bunch of guys being, Sunday school, all with their little books, all in this massive armor, trying to be like, actually. It's very funny. But Abyssum serves both as their fortress and a sanctuary for them. It is a bastion of darkness where they can plot their conquests and spread their twisted gospel all across the galaxy. It's a mysterious place where the true nature of existence waits to be unveiled by those dare to seek enlightenment. So, even though they've lived there for 2 millennia, since we're now thinking current time is M41, so 3, they still think that they can go farther and deeper. So the true size of Abyssum and the world isn't really locked down in stone. It's constantly changing. Atop a colossal mountain is their fortress monastery known as the Eclipse of Abyssum. It's an formidable bastion of darkness, and it's carved into rugged stone. It has obsidian towers that loom ominously above the landscape. Within its shadowed halls, whispers of the never-born echo, while flickering braziers cast eerie shadows upon the veiled terrain below. And while it's extremely large when observed from the surface of the planet, you can't see the mountain or the monastery from orbit, which is kind of cool. Now, anybody who gets lost in this mist, Chaos Cultists, Astartes, enemies, they're all seen as accidental sacrifices to the Chaos Gods. They're deemed unworthy of serving them in their flesh, so if someone gets lost, well, if it's an enemy, hallelujah. If it's a cultist, they were doing their job, and if it was an Astartes, they weren't worthy enough. Okay, so I can vibe with that. The Warband has a unique gene seed flaw, mutation on top of the unwavering belief and fanaticism that is usual with the Sons of Lorgar. They also developed a profound disdain in their physical form, viewing demonic mutation inflicted upon their bodies of expressions of beauty. Now, if these guys ever get their hands on some Iron Warriors, they would get along fantastically. You both have groups of people that are like, I don't like my body. It's kind of funny. It would be really interesting to see robotic, possessed demon Astartes. Let's just throw it all together, man. It would be awesome. It's man-bear peg, this stuff. We're on to the written lore that makes these guys stand out to me, and the way they conduct their religion, and how it ties in the world of Abyssal, which in itself, again, is a cool-sounding planet. Well written. Firstly, they are Chaos Undivided, but with a fun quirk. They allow the worship of individual Chaos Gods as long as it is balanced by an equal number of worshippers than the others. For me, that's kind of funny, okay? What do? They keep a punch card, a tally system? Do they exchange who can worship who this week with trading cards? I don't know. Considering most aspirants would want to get any blessing they could as fast as they could, and the fact that there are 275 Astartes, by the way, an odd number, and with a, quote, untold millions of cultists on the planet, the logistics must be a nightmare. But again, I'm talking about it, and this is going to make me remember these guys, so it's really funny, but it's certainly unique. Now, the main focus of the Abyssal Conclave is searching for occult knowledge to further their mastery of the occult and magic, and they also emphasize acquiring mutations of their physical body, which sees them notably being influenced by Sneech the most. Now, the reason they have chain veils is their practice of the Veil-Lord initiation. This is a ritualistic veiling of Battle Brother's face. They believe that only those blessed with demonic possession should be viewed unobscured, as they embody the purest union between a Neverborn and a Battle Brother of the Warband. Again, it's also seen as beautiful to them. It is a thing of beauty. If you ain't got no junk on your face and no massy scars, you are ugly. Only upon being chosen to join the Blessed and undergoing rites that come with demonic possession, the individuals are permitted to cast aside this practice. Now, the Blessed are what we would know as the Possessed on the tabletop. Culturally, the Battle Brothers of the Abyssal Conclave closely mirror their counterparts in any other Warbearers warband. However, their distinct practices set them aside is the wearing of the chainmail veils to conceal their faces. Even when they're not wearing helmets, they still have this veil. This tradition stems from the belief that those with fewer chaos mutations are perceived as lacking in devotion to the chaos gods, and thus deemed disgusting abominations by their brethren. Like I said earlier, it's all about beauty to them. If you got tentacles and teeth and third eyes, you are Gucci. You are on Prada. You are on the catwalk to them. The Book of Lorgar continues to be revered and used in worship. Most of their warriors, again, like the word bearers, cover their armor with experts of it, the sacred text. However, each battle brother creates his own version, filling with passages that are most important to him. The materials used to create each individual book varies. They could use a lot of stuff. Human skin, goat skin, hair, demon's wing, written in blood, whatever is their style. It's very interesting to me. It is an individualistic approach to worship, and it allows each Astartes to be unique with their own books. That is very cool to me, because I feel like there's overarching a lot of battle brothers that are just a face and a name and a grunt. And yeah, you need those guys. Not everyone can be a named character, but something small like that as their own personalized book can put them apart without them being a named character. Very cool. The treatment of their cultists is also somewhat unique compared to most warbands. While they will still use cultists as the vanguard of their forces, outside of combat they treat the cultists like lost lambs that need guidance. They treat them more like they give them more reverence and include them in their procession. The highest ranking cultists are even considered more important to the Conclave than some of the Battle Brothers. Now that's gotta cause some weird stuff, because Astartes, although they don't have a superiority complex, or some of them do, we're talking about Chaos Astartes. They probably hate those guys that are normal baseline humans that are better than them. The Abyssal Conclave does have the most unity, according to the lore, for the most part, but I still think, like, personally, they would be bugged by that. You know, they treat cultists pretty well, which is cool, and their recruitment of new Astartes is even chosen from the children of specific cultists that have shown themselves to be exceptional and have the most fervent belief in their cause and their gods. To these cultists, this is seen as a blessing, not just to the child, but also to the parents themselves having produced an offspring that is good enough to be noticed by the servants of the Chaos Gods. A trial that makes the Astartes of the Warband that the aspirants go through is very similar to a lot of other Warbands go through a grueling challenge, and if you survive, yay! So the recruitment rate is rather slow, which is why these guys only have 275. And it's already hard enough to get Chaos GNC to begin with. But they put their aspirants through something called the Ethereal Passage. The Ethereal Passage is the trial undertaken by initiates, chosen from the offspring of the cultist, alright? To get to be Astartes, this is very much... A lot of Space Marine chapters do the same thing. You plop someone off in the middle of nowhere, you hope they survive, and if they do, awesome. Now, what makes this a little more weird on Abyssum is they're going through the mists. The mists that test their strength, intelligence, faith, and resolve, okay? It tests all that things. Remember, the mist is constantly changing and is filled with unseen horrors, okay? They are tempted by whispers, and they basically just wander in the dark. Their goal is to get back to the Eclipse of Abyssum, which is the Fortress Monastery. And if they get there, congratulations, they are deemed worthy enough to proceed on their path to becoming a battle brother. That's cool. The way they fight is very on brand for Chaos. While the Abyssal Conclave continues to utilize cultists and summon demons to fulfill their objectives like regular Ward Bearers Warband, they also emphasize a warfare strategy characterized by heavy firepower and melee combat. Utilizing obliterators from long-distance range destruction, they storm enemies' defenses while these things are firing with their possessed units. And I'm pretty sure this leads to mass casualties for both sides, but still, that's kind of scary. Not only are you getting blown up, there are hordes of demons, super coked up Astartes demons, coming for your ass at the same time. Yeah, no, that's pretty terrifying. And obliterators, they have access to the obliterator virus, and they have access to those guys. That's awesome. I didn't even think about that. They don't even mention them. They mainly say that they focus on the blessed and the possessed, but an obliterator is freaking cool. The interesting thing is they mentioned later within the Friends and Enemies that they hate the Iron Warriors. That's got to be an odd relationship, because I thought, to my belief, that most obliterators come from the Iron Warriors. If I'm wrong, let me know. And now, we're going to talk about the Friends and Enemies section. They are still loyal to the Word Bearers, but much like the Dark Angels, they will prioritize other objectives. Now, if their Shrouded Prophet says to go do something else, they are going to get out of Dodge, to the detriment of everyone else, alright? The Ultramarines, like the majority of the members of the 17th Legion, the Abyssal Conclave despises the Gene Sons of Gilliman. Yeah, no, absolutely, they should. Half of them were wiped out. So many of the Word Bearers themselves were wiped out, but specifically half of the 24th Host was wiped out by them. Now, we talked about this earlier. The Iron Warriors are another enemy they hate, mainly because the purging of mutations. Again, they see that as the greatest heresy. And the Iron Warriors are like, well, time to cut it off. I don't need that arm anyway. Lastly, it's really funny to me, Sineach being the person that influences the Abyssal Conclave the most, they actually hate the Thousand Sons. The reason the Abyssal Conclave hates the Thousand Sons is because they all turn to dust. And they saw that act as being a punishment by the Chaos Gods, since it makes those Astartes, or even those sorcerers, impossible to receive the blessed mutations that the Conclave values so much. The Abyssal Conclave is written as being unaware of the reason why they all turned to dust. So to them, the Thousand Sons basically went poof because they pissed off the Chaos Gods. The Warband is listed to have an entire fleet, which I'm going to throw up on screen here. You can read. The names are cool. I'll say some of them here. The Abyssal Herald, the Hellhound Fury, the Umbral Sovereign. Like, those are all neat. Another thing that bothers me is they named artifacts and relics, but they didn't tell us what they are. So, there's only 3 of them, which is the Veil of Shadows, the Cloak of Whispers, and the Ebon Shard. I would really like to know more about that, and I'm about 90% sure the Ebon Shard is just a Blackstone Shard. Lastly, I didn't know where to fit him, but this is one of the most notable, is Vortemar the Veiled Seal. Now, I voiced his quote at the beginning, but I'm going to go over this really quick. Vortemar is cool. Vortemar was born to the slave parents serving the deacon of the Covenant of Cockless, which is the ruling body of the time. Vortemar's upbringing is shrouded in the mists of mystery. Okay, I don't like that, but I get it. You can't write a dissertation about his whole life, but a little bit there would have been fine. His parents were dedicated followers of Lorgar during the Schism Wars and instilled within him a fervent devotion of their cause. Chosen for his parents' valorous sacrifice, what did they do? That's what I want to know. Vortemar joined the Wordbearers Legion, serving with distinction in the Osseous Throne chapter. He starts as a battle brother in a different chapter. Good. I hate the I am the MC suddenly. He actually has history that should be written more upon, but it's implied that he has more history as an Astartes. While not directly involved in the Istvan V dropsite massacre, his role in defending a destroyer in orbit gave him accolades. It was this and his unwavering determination during the Shadow Crusades in the realm of Vortemar that caught the attention of the Dark Apostles, leading to his ascension as a first acolyte. By the time of the Great Scouring, Vortemar had risen to the rank of Dark Apostle, leading his own word host of the Word-Bearers through the tumultuous aftermath of the heresy. I like the writing. I would like more of his background as a story. It doesn't need a whole dissertation. He wasn't part of the Dropsite Massacre. He was involved in it, but he wasn't directly on the planet. I like that, because we know a lot about the Istvan V Dropsite Massacre and what happened. And there was a lot of casualties on both sides, but we almost know, bar for bar exactly what happens. So him being nearby is perfect to me. Overall, I liked the Abyssal Conclave. I think they're pretty neat. I enjoy that the history was well written. The aesthetics, I like that they kept it close to home with the Word Bearers to make them definitely a Word Bearers warband. I would like to have seen maybe a different color. That's just my opinion. I like them because I like Word Bearers, and they are definitely a Word Bearers chapter. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I just personally am a special snowflake and would like to distance myself as far as I could from my source material, but you kept it pretty close to the heart. And that, overall, I'll give you a good 4 out of 5 with this design. Good history, good writing. I like the planet. I like that they're different in terms of the way their religion works. The way they fight is interesting to me. And just the planet was also fun to read about. I very much like that the planet is just the Chaos Wastes. That's cool. I mean, again, original, not really, but it is what it is. You gave me enough to understand what the concept was. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on the Abyssal Conclave. That's some of their history. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments about the Abyssal Conclave. Do you like some of the takes? Do you disagree with some of the things? Do you think it's too boring? Do you think I rated it too high? Just let me know. Just let me know. And I will see you guys later.